Yes, to all of you viewers of Equinoxe Television, it's time for the news. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Magistrates right away. Panic and consternation at the primary school here in the economic capital Douala today following rumors that a child brought poisoned food or snacks to kill his classmates who have been eating his food in school. The little boy allegedly said the bread was given to him by his mother. Our reporters were at the school premises and we will be telling you more in this edition of the news. And it is several years after a mudslide killed many people, including women and children, in Goashe. It is a locality on the outskirts of Bafoussam in the west region of Cameroon. What has become of Goashe and also the numerous promises from the state? We get the response when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We begin this edition of the news here in Douala talking about insecurity. The inhabitants of Oyak in the Douala 3 subdivision have been nursing hopes that theft, rape, aggression or harassment and criminality as a whole will be a thing of the past. This feeling of optimism stems from the official installation of the local vigilante group created to fight insecurity in that area. Let's now have more with Innocent Aze.
As a whole, in the Douala 3 subdivision has been at the center of criminal acts, including rape, aggression and banditry in all its forms for years, leaving the population in the mercy of God.
People were stealing every kind of thing. When you were coming back home, there was aggressions, especially aggressions. It was very, very too much and exaggerated.
Before, so many people have too much problem in this city.
In Oyak 2, the quarter head, backed up by those of Oyak 1, 3 and 4, decides to confront the men of the underworld through the creation of a local vigilante committee with its members officially installed October 31 by the first deputy divisional officer of the Douala 3 subdivision. The vigilantes have been operating since June upon the order of the Wuri SDO. This time around, the divisional officer comes to install them in the presence of the population so that they can continue operating officially. The population today understand they have been doing a great job.
Des yeux pour confirmer.
Security is now better than last time.
The security actually is better.
The administrative officer, Ekuma Joseph Assel, while installing the vigilante group members, urged them
Nous avons demandé
to be responsible and credible in discharging their duties so as to gain the respect of the population, work hand in glove with the police, gendarmes and administrators, change the mentality of the population and give them hope.
de respecter les règles de lutte contre le désordre urbain.
On the part of the vigilantes, they promised to put security in Oyak 2 at 90% minimum.
We don't have material, you say, only dogs. So that's why we have difficulties for do the job. We need the gendarmerie and the policemen to work with us.
Before his departure, the first deputy divisional officer encouraged the complaining vigilantes to adopt strategies and techniques to excel in their mission.
And now to this major league story. It's already 4 years after several people died following a mudslide which happened in Goashe locality not far away from Bafoussam in the west region of Cameroon. Victims of the Goashe disaster have expressed deep concerns over the fact that the area has been abandoned, including the people living there. 4 years later, the people still have sad memories of that deadly mudslide, as Mala Glory tells us in the report which comes up next.
4 years after the landslide that claimed the lives of several people in Goashe, a neighborhood in the town of Bafoussam, life has gradually returned to normal, but the sad memory remains in the minds of victims. There was thunder and lightning at around 11 p.m. that day. Then later I heard a loud and strong sound like something has fallen. Some locals say they almost lost their lives trying to save others once they arrived at the scene. Over 43 people died in the debris. We went out to see what was happening. While walking through the forest, the ground opened again. That was when we ran for our lives. We all know those who lived here. All the 43 people that died. We know them. I can still remember their names. Years after the sad incident, the place is now a shadow of itself. The failed promises made by the government remain the major preoccupation of the locals. At least something should be constructed here. Clear the bush and make the place livable. Because we are often scared to go out at night. According to official figures, the landslide that occurred in Guache on October 28, 2019 is the deadliest catastrophe that Cameroon has registered in recent years.
And now in health, we bring to you details of the deplorable situation of a baby in Kribi in the south region of Cameroon. The parents have just returned from India with the sick baby without care due to failed promises from the government of Cameroon. The baby suffered serious health complications after receiving 2 doses of the yellow fever vaccine in Kribi. Babila Jonathan with the details.
She received a life-changing vaccine in a private health facility in Kribi, south region of Cameroon. Before the vaccination, the child was healthy. The yellow fever vaccine shattered her health.
When they injected my baby with yellow fever vaccine, they first of all gave the first dose to the left leg and the second dose to the right leg. My baby cried, "Wah!" and just silent. That was how my baby felt on my arms. That was all.
The baby's Cameroonian mother and Nigerian father took the child to a clinic, and in the absence of the medical officer of the health amenity, they rushed to the Kribi General Hospital.
Later, the doctor called my husband and said, "Sir, with the situation of your child, we need to transfer this baby to pediatric gynecology hospital in Douala, where they are going to conduct some certain tests on this baby."
After spending close to 4 million francs CFA, the family was faced with financial constraints. Yoha Efoza and his wife then decided to seek help from the Ministry of Public Health of Cameroon.
They told me, no matter what the condition is, I cannot see the minister. I was there from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. in the evening.
14 August 2023, Cameroonian health authorities sent them to India after a delay of over 120 days, a delay that aggravated the baby's health situation.
They started treating this baby for 1 month on credit. Cameroon government did not send 1 franc. Even the 50% the immunization head said that he's going to send to the hospital. The hospital did not receive it.
In a recent interview on state media, the Minister of Public Health said
le cas a été immédiatement pris en charge.
Government has taken care of the child. He, however, admits that there is still much to be done. The family is back in Cameroon with the sick child, still begging for help from a state that has signed and ratified international legal instruments on human rights, including the right to health. One of them is the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, in which the state took the commitment in Article 16 to protect the health of her people and offer medical assistance to those in need.
And now we take you out of the country. Before that, we sincerely apologize. We won't be having one of our major lead stories, which is the baby boy who reportedly took poisoned bread to school to kill her classmates or his classmates who have been eating his snacks. We will sure be having that story in our subsequent news editions. Now, out of Cameroon, UN peacekeepers ordered to leave Mali by the country's leaders have been forced to rush their withdrawal, destroy equipment left behind, and risk their lives on the road out. And also in Chad, Chad's military government and one of its main opponent, Success Masra, signed an agreement for his return after a year in forced exile. Let's now have more on our foreign page roundup with Cedric Chakutu.
Chad's military government and one of its main opponents, Success Masra, signed an agreement for his return after a year in forced exile following bloody protests. The agreement in principle was signed in Kinshasa between the transitional government and the political party, the Transformateur. This to allow the return in Chad of its president, Success Masra. This was in the presence of the Democratic Republic of Congo President Félix Tshisekedi, who is the facilitator of the Economic Community of Central African States, ECAS, for the transition process in Chad. Elsewhere in Mali, a convoy from the United Nations in Mali made up of more than 100 vehicles which left the city in the north of the country last Tuesday morning is on its way to Gao. Furthermore, the UN mission made up of 15,000 soldiers and police and more than 180 members must leave Mali by December 31st. This due to the request made by the Malian authorities after months of deterioration in relations with the MINUSMA. UN soldiers have been deployed to Mali since 2013 to fight jihadists. And then, American President Joe Biden has expressed willingness to end the participation of 4 African countries in the trade program of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. The countries include Gabon, Niger, Central African Republic, and Uganda. AGOA is an American trade legislation that allows export products from eligible African countries to benefit from exemptions and custom fees. Note that Niger and Gabon were excluded from this program due to a military coup leading to the breakdown of constitutional order, the non-respect of instructions, and the suspension of the democratic process. On the other hand, Uganda and Central African Republic will be suspended from AGOA for human rights violations. It should be recalled that the African Growth and Opportunities is due to end in September 2025, but African government and industrial groups are strongly calling for an early extension of this U.S. tariff law for an additional 10 years.
And now we move on to sports. The governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Kalabilai, says how the region should give their support for the lone club Victoria United FC. Bernard Okalabilai was speaking during a peace or reconciliatory meeting that took place in Limbe. If the president of Opopo, Kwame Valentine, was present, the absence of Njala Kwan Jr. was conspicuous. Simanji Gabriel with the details.
The conference room of the City Council in Limbe was the point of convergence as daughters and sons of the Southwest region, Fako Division in particular, met to bring peace between Kwan Valentine, aka Bob Didi, and Henry Njalakwan Jr. on the other hand.
I have been facing a lot of challenges. It is so difficult that I cannot explain. If I start talking, I might start crying because I realize that they say I'm a stranger. I've lived all my life here. I've made all my here, and every fee was refused to me. Even when I have money to pay, they ask me 250,000 to pay for a training fee like the centenary stadium. They will tell me they are working on the fee. This team is our pride. It's not my team. Victoria United is not my property.
Elites of Fako Division say respect should be given to anyone who invests in football.
It is a task that is difficult to undertake. So when someone elects to do it, that individual deserves respect, support, and encouragement. The president of the Victoria United has fired the first shot. Let that kill any spirit of division that was amongst us. And by extension,
and the paramount leaders of Limbe and Boya say football is a uniting factor and not a dividing one. Southwest Governor echoed peace in the region.
They must continue what their fathers did to render this part of the country so great, to maintain this cosmopolitan environment.
The team that failed to play during match day 5 is presently warming up for a day 6 encounter away to Avion Academy FC.
And still in sports, just to inform or confirm to you that the mixed martial arts champion of the world, Francis Ngannou, is in Cameroon. He arrived in Simalen International Airport, that was last night. Francis Ngannou will be passing through Douala and will also get to Batie, his hometown in the west region of Cameroon. He is back to Cameroon after his very famous boxing game against world boxing champion Fury Tyson, which took place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. That was last weekend. And viewers, that does it for the first part of the news. Don't go away. Talking Point comes up next. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is Jomo Cyril. He is of the civil society and also a militant of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. He is based in Buea. Cyril, thank you so much for accepting to be our guest tonight on Talking Point. We are coming back to the display of corpses of separatist fighters in the southwest region, precisely in Kumba. Yesterday, we watched on our screens the images of two supposed generals from the Mehmet division who were killed by elements of the Rapid Intervention Battalion and displayed at the Busek Junction in Kumba. Now, Cyril Jomo, you are a political actor and also of the civil society. You're based in Buea. You've been observing the scene, how the war has been going on. Now, displaying corpses of separatist fighters who have been killed by security officers. What's your take on that? Displaying them in the public.
Talking on the display of separatist corpses at the public junction or at the Bisek Junction in Kumba in the presence of public authorities. Now, when we put the question like that, it seems as if the public authorities only came and met it. No, we should say that the colonial masters in the past, to fight the Maquisard struggle, actually spearheaded people and hung their head at public junctions. That is a practice that has been known, and the practice has a motive to dissuade those who are nursing those spirits amongst themselves and to easily carry the message of fear to far-reaching places. That is the intention of the public authority, to lay corpses in public areas. This is not the first case. Maybe this is the first I'm reacting on your media, but this is not the first case. One of the salient cases that happened still there in Kumba was the case of late General Lekiaka Oliver, formerly known as, as I used to call him, Mafi Mashar, that dreaded separatist fighter that terrorized the BLM for more than 5 years. Yes, when he was killed, his corpse was fled from his BLM native village to Kumba, still at that Bisek Junction, and lay for the public authority. And according to, lay for the masses to see. And according to the authority, he was still under the leadership of the divisional officer for Mehmet, Mr. Anto Ndong Chambelin. He even thought that they would carry that corpse and move to all the headquarters of Southwest. But unfortunately, the corpse was already under decomposition. So, I must tell you, my dear Anne, that this practice, it is well known to countries that have known insecurity, especially countries that has gained independence from colonial masters like France. This is no news. They like intimidation, they govern by intimidation, and so this is one of their practice. But once I finish saying that, the right question to ask is, would the separatist fighter have done different if they were the one who had the opportunity to send out messages to atrocities? The answer is mitigated. But there is a high inclination of a yes, they will not hesitate to do the same practice. You remember the case of Musa, where unarmed civilians were tortured and killed by separatists who judged that these unarmed civilians were blacklegs. Blacklegs means people who report their activities to the security forces. So, if we are had in one hand separatist fighters beating and killing civilians in an undefendable manner, then what is that when you put it on the same balance with laying corpses in public? I think from the moral perspective, the two fighters at both ends, the security forces and the separatists, are communicating among themselves. Unfortunately, these have repercussions on the general public.
And now, Cyril, opinions are somehow divided on why are the reasons behind displaying these corpses in public, especially in Kumba. It has been recurrent in Kumba. Some opinions have it that it is to discourage other separatist fighters who are in the bush, and some other people think that it can instead radicalize those other youths who are watching and seeing, should I say, their brothers or their uncles being killed and their corpses displayed like that in public. Like I just said, some people think it is to discourage those who want to join separatists, and while others think it can instead radicalize and cause some youth to join the separatist fighters. What's your own opinion?
Of course, at the early hours of this crisis, back then in 2017, where we were still very active in the social, civil society movement, attending training here and there, in a bid to escalate radicalization and vandalism, one could say that exposing corpses in the marketplace or public area could radicalize more other young people who are witnessing those kind of practices. But 7 years into the crisis, I might not really buy into that radicalization. Why? Because as far as the crisis is going on now, the right people who are still in Konengi are the ones that the populace are expecting them to come out and have a frank discussion with Mr. Biya. The ones that are in the bushes today are fighting for something that very few are understanding. Most people have termed it the economy of war, where they think they can easily grab some money there and find their way and flee out of this country. That's what we have been witnessing. If not, what can justify that people who are said to be fighting to liberate their own people are rather killing the people they are fighting for? What can justify that? The very life that they are protecting, they are chasing them out of the region to go and get more francophonites in other regions. What kind of explanation can you give to that? So I think the aspect of radicalizing those who are witnessing it is something that I cannot buy it. I cannot buy. The aim of it is to instill fear. And at this juncture, the government is succeeding in instilling that fear. Let me tell you something. Back here in Boya, at the beginning of this school year, there was just a little gunshot in the peripheral area of Boya, around Munya area. And that gunshot kept people indoors for 2 weeks. That's just to tell you what fear can do in a war-torn environment, in a restive region. That is what fear can do. So these two actors are fully aware of the consequences of fear within the people, and that is why they do everything to hide behind those practices that is going to instill fear in the mind of the people. Of course, everybody is careful with his or her life, and so if they tell you that don't go out today, because if you go out, these are the risks that you are running, then nobody will go out. But the intrinsic value of the crisis, what the people, the English faction are fighting for, the government has successfully eroded it with any group from the same region, making it very difficult to assert at this point in time that the people are still with those who are in the bushes. But the people are not satisfied with the way the crisis is being handled, and have just abandoned the government and the separatists to be frustrating the environment, because God time is always the best, and the people haven't given up. They know no matter how the government will dress, the remedial solution they are putting on is not going to last, because nobody can build for long on a sandy soil.
And now, Mr. Njomo Siri, before we go, still talking about displaying corpses, can't that be very traumatizing to the young people? Because you just took the example of what happened in Gusang in the northwest region, where 2 individuals were shot at close range by alleged separatist fighters with children, very young children, watching. Can't it be traumatizing to them in the long run, and to the entire population, be they children or adults?
It does create psychotraumatic effects on the people. The peace-loving people of Northwest and Southwest are caught within the trap of security forces in the one hand and separatist fighters. It regularly puts a halt on their activities. It can be farmers, it can be petty trades, it can be economic operators, it can be civil servants also. Just that civil servants are even far more better, because whether they work or not, at the end of the month they still have their salary. Government authority, same thing. Security forces, they even add more pains on the people, because they go around harassing people, confusing some between scammers and non-scammers. I heard that the government recently was working on a law to protect armed sponsoring, and it is really my hope that that law should come faster, because displaying corpses alone is one thing, but going further to stop people from walking is something that I cannot explain. to stop them from going to their activities, working that is going to permit them to stay alive. When you hear that education is being hindered in the northwest and the southwest, it's not just a view of the spirit, it's a reality. The time students have for school here, it is measured and so much reduced compared to those of the other francophone fraction. And so, when the government is supposed to show more example to reduce this psychosocial trauma, instead they make sure by showing their power. The intention of showing those corpses at public junction would have meant that education about these people who are creating panic in our environment should be sent out until it reaches the little children in our quarters. But behold, that is not always what is obtained. Because once it is shown on a public place like that, another team was supposed to move from meeting houses to meeting houses and explain to different associations what is happening, why the government choose to take that move, and what they want to obtain at the end of that process. That is a government that is closer to the people and want to limit their psychosocial trauma. But when it is allowed for anybody to make any interpretation of it, then you can agree with me that the intention is not for the well-being of the people, it's to send them to hospital for those who cannot bear psychosocial shock. It's to chase away from the region of origin, those who cannot bear some of those shocks. You see them taking the next available box to go to another francophone region where they think they can have peace.
Thank you so much, Cyril Njomo, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight. Just to remind our viewers that you are of the civil society and also a member of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, and you're based in Boya. Viewers, thank you so much for always being there. Don't go away, our programs continue. Equinoxe Soir at 7 p.m., the news in the French language at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.